the terms of a plea deal that'll keep him from serving prison time.
Many people were surprised when Austin Lee Russell, who Pawn Stars fans know as Chumlee, became popular for reasons that had nothing to do with old things or funny one-liners. He was known for his easygoing personality, quick wit, and sometimes surprising knowledge about certain types of collectibles. What brought him to the public's attention in the first place? We need to look more closely at how Chumlee's journey started in order to understand what makes people so interested in him, both the good and the bad. He was born in Henderson, Nevada on September 8, 1982. Henderson is not far from Las Vegas. When he was about 12 years old, someone gave him the nickname that would become his TV name. The father of a friend said he looked like Chumlee, the walrus sidekick from the old cartoon show Tennessee Tuxedo. From that point on, he was just known as Chumlee. He grew up in a pretty normal middle-class family. When he was young, Corey Harrison became his best friend. That link would change the course of his life. Before Corey, his dad, Rick Harrison, and Grandpa, Richard Old Man Harrison, ran the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop in Las Vegas. It opened in 1989. When Chumlee first started working there, the store was already well known in the area. It sold a lot of different things, from jewelry and rare antiques to guitars and historical items. Chumlee joined the shop for real when he turned 21. At first, his job was pretty simple. He had to help out behind the counter, test things to make sure they were real, load and unload goods, and make tickets for customers to use when they bought something. At least not yet, he wasn't in charge, and customers didn't know him as a key player in the business. Things started to change in 2009 when the production company Left Field Pictures came up with the idea of a reality TV show about the shop. The goal was to show how a Las Vegas pawn shop really worked, how deals were made, how old things were valued, and how the people who worked behind the counter dealt with customers and with each other. Pawn Stars was born, and it first aired on the History Channel in July of that year. The show got going right away. People were interested in both the different kinds of things that came into the shop and the characters that came on screen. Rick was the smart and business-savvy owner, Corey was the more laid-back heir apparent, and Richard was the tough and no-nonsense grandfather. Together, they made a strong trio. But Chumlee was the one who stood out. For some reason, he changed the mood of the show. He was often the comedic relief or the one making mistakes, but his sense of humor and real personality made him easy to relate to. People loved Chumlee a lot, even though he was sometimes the target of jokes. He wasn't just there to make people laugh, he was genuinely interested in and knowledgeable about certain topics. For instance, he surprised Corey and Rick in one episode by showing that he knew a lot about old pinball machines. People got to see a smarter and more capable side of Chumlee at that moment, which made him even more likable. It wasn't long before Chumlee started looking for work outside of the show. As his fan base grew, he started his own business to sell novelty items with his image or catchphrases from the show on them, like t-shirts, stickers, and other things. He sold Rick Harrison half of the business for $155,000 in 2010 because of how much people wanted it. The deal helped the store keep track of its stock and handle sales for goods more quickly. Because Chumlee is so famous, his items often sold faster than those of other cast members. But this wasn't just a way to make money. Chumlee had always been interested in starting his own business. He had been an assistant manager at McDonald's before he worked at the pawn shop. At one point, Rick chose to buy a Quiznos sandwich shop and gave Chumlee the job of running it. Chumlee managed the Quiznos and worked at the pawn shop at the same time for a while. People who knew him say that he worked non-stop for 135 days without a break. That work attitude, along with the chance the show gave him, set him up for real success. In fact, his growing fame got him roles in shows other than Pawn Stars. One example that stands out is his cameo in the Nickelodeon show iCarly, which was called I Lost My Head in Vegas. Chumlee, Rick, and Corey all played themselves in a plot where the main characters lost something important. Fans loved the mix, and it helped him become known to people who don't usually watch History Channel. While everyone was busy, Chumlee was dealing with some personal problems. His father died of pancreatic cancer just 2 weeks before Pawn Stars first aired. He felt terrible about the loss, and it affected the decisions he made later on about his health and way of life. In spite of this, he kept his attention on the show and used it as a stage. One of the funniest things about the show was how he interacted with Rick Harrison. Rick was very serious, while Chumlee was more laid back and sometimes silly. This made for a natural relationship that didn't feel forced. That made fans happy. The way they worked together had grown over almost 20 years, making their partnership more like family. Rick has said in many interviews that he treats Chumlee almost like a kid, even though they tease each other. Although the show changed over time, adding new settings and new ways of making episodes, Chumlee stayed the same. People watched him because he could make them laugh and have unexpectedly deep moments of understanding. He wasn't just a figure in the background, he helped make Pawn Stars really fun. Things went wrong with the law when Chumlee was asked to help with a case that didn't have anything to do with drugs or weapons at first. On March 9, 2016, the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department searched Chumlee's home after getting a search warrant. As part of a larger probe into a sexual assault claim, the search took place. Although Chumlee was never charged with sexual assault, the cops found other things that led to a separate case in court. An extensive number of illegal things were found when his home was searched by the police. Some of these were guns, pot, methamphetamine, and Xanax. Some of the guns were not registered, and there were signs that cocaine use may have happened. Fans were shocked by the finding, which got a lot of attention from the media. People had thought of him as a cool loser and a funny character, so this situation felt very different from how people saw him. Soon after the search, Chumlee was arrested and later freed on a $62,000 bond the next day. It spread quickly through major news outlets that the reality TV star was now being charged with multiple felonies. He was charged with 20 different crimes, most of which were connected to drug possession and weapons violations. Because the charges were so serious, it was reasonable to worry that this could mean the end of his career or at least a long break from TV. But that wasn't the end of the story. As soon as Chumlee and his lawyers got together, they started working on a plan to solve the problem without a long public hearing. David Chesnoff, his famous Las Vegas lawyer who is known for taking on cases involving famous people, worked out a plea deal with the attorneys. The formal plea on May 23, 2016, was guilty of one felony weapons charge, illegally possessing a firearm, and one count of attempted drug possession, which was a gross misdemeanor. He agreed to go to counseling regularly and was given 3 years of probation as part of the deal. The guns and drugs that were found during the search were also taken away from him. The agreement said that Chumlee's felony weapons charge would be dropped if he followed all the rules of his probation and stayed out of problems with the law during that time. He would only have the misdemeanor on his record, so he could move on without having to deal with the long-term effects of a criminal guilt. The plea deal changed everything. This showed that Chumlee was ready to take ownership and make changes. He didn't try to hide what happened or act like the victim. Instead, he quietly did what the court told him to do and stayed out of more trouble with the law. Chumlee decided to be accountable in a low-key way, which is different from many famous people who try to avoid responsibility. After that, things didn't happen much in the public eye. Chumlee kept working on Pawn Stars, but he didn't get as much attention when he wasn't on the show. He was in the news less often, stayed out of public trouble, and worked on making his personal life better. This strategy helped keep the scandal from taking over his career totally. Many people who watch Pawn Stars occasionally might not have even noticed a big change, since the show didn't talk much about the court case. Even though the original charges were very serious, Chumlee's fans mostly stuck by him. The situation was seen by many as a wake-up call rather than the end of his career for good. Fans' posts and comments on social media sites showed that they were still interested in his life and even gave him words of support. People who read his story knew that mistakes don't have to ruin a person's whole future. He was able to handle things so well after they happened, in part because he worked hard to change the way he lived. After getting into trouble with the law, Chumlee turned his attention inward. He paid more attention to his health, started working on getting fit, and tried to stay centered. In later talks, he said that the legal situation changed his life and made him take a good look at how he was living it. Chumlee opened Chumlee's Candy on the Boulevard, a candy shop in Las Vegas, right next to the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop in 2017. This was only 1 year after he was arrested. Both visitors and locals loved the store right away because it sold nostalgic candies and sweets as well as branded goods. Fans were always happy to see Chumlee in the store, where he would talk to customers and take pictures. This business wasn't just another way to make money, it was a way for me to change myself. Chumlee's efforts to fix not only his image but also his everyday life were shown in many ways by the candy shop. Running a small business needed discipline and focus, which may not have been as important to him when he was first becoming famous. He showed that he could be more than just a reality TV show jokester. He could run a good business and be a good person in his community. Around this time, he also started to lose weight, and even though he wouldn't have gastric sleeve surgery until 2019, he started making changes to his eating and living soon after the court case. In conversations, he talked about how he was eating more vegetables, less red meat, and working out every day. There was no doubt that he was trying to change things in more than one way. While this was going on, Pawn Stars kept shooting and was still a popular History Channel show. There were reports earlier that Chumlee might be written out or that the controversy would cause him to leave, but he stayed on as a full-time cast member. The network and production team's choice showed that they believed in his ability to heal and grow from what happened. It was also a sign of confidence from Rick Harrison, who plays the main character on the show and has been Chumlee's boss and friend for a long time. One of the most noticeable things about Chumlee's life after the scandal was how his health changed. His weight had been all over the place for years. At his biggest, he weighed about 350 pounds. Even though how he looked on screen had always been a part of who he was, the health problems that came with being very overweight became harder for him to ignore. He had said in interviews that the death of his father from pancreatic cancer right before the first episode of Pawn Stars had moved him a lot. His father had died when he was only 54 years old, and that made him realize that he couldn't ignore his own health. Slowly, Chumlee started to make changes to his way of life. He changed what he ate, eating less bad food, and started working exercise into his daily life. It took him a while to lose 75 pounds the right way at first. He told the public that he cooked his own meals, didn't eat red meat, and didn't eat prepared foods. In the morning, he even gave up soda for milkshakes. But it was hard for him to keep the weight off in the long run, as it is for many people who try to lose weight. He finally realized he needed a more long-term solution because the gains would come back. Chumlee chose to have gastric sleeve surgery in the beginning of 2019. The operation, which is done at Blossom Bariatrics in Las Vegas, cuts the stomach down by about 75% to 80% big. More and more people who are severely overweight and can't keep off the weight by making changes to their living are getting this type of surgery. Chumlee was honest about the fact that surgery wasn't an easy way out. It was just something he could use to help him make the changes he needed to stay fit. Interviews with People magazine and other news outlets say that the surgery was just the start. After that, he worked hard on his mental health, food, and exercise. The results were really great. Over time, Chumlee shed over 160 pounds, and now he weighs about 190 pounds. He felt and looked much better, and his body and mind were both stronger. Fans could keep up with his progress by seeing pictures of his meals, workouts, and personal thoughts on social media. A lot of people who followed his journey found inspiration in it. He showed that it is possible to make real changes even after a bad past with dedication and the right help. But Chumlee changed in more ways than just his body. He also used the chance to start his own business and change his life. He looked into business opportunities that fit his personal interests and gave him a chance to leave behind the counter while he was still working at the gold and silver pawn shop and showing on Pawn Stars. He opened Chumlee's Candy on the Boulevard, a themed candy store near a pawn shop in Las Vegas in 2017. His shop, which was bright, colorful, and full of old-school treats like Pez machines, Abba Zaba bars, and old sodas, showed how fun he was. The store also sells unique Chumlee items like custom keychains and signed bobbleheads. Tourists who wanted to eat retro sweets and see Chumlee in person made it a popular place to stop. Looper says that the store's idea wasn't just about candy and fun things. It was about making a fun and friendly space that reflected the friendly attitude that TV fans loved. Customers often say in reviews how nice the staff is and how often Chumlee himself shows up to talk to guests. For many, going to the candy store became as much about the experience as it was about getting candy. Chumlee had more business ideas than that. He started to work on his own business and grow into new areas that made sense for him. As part of one of these projects, the retro-style computer game Chumlee's Adventure, The Quest for Pinky came out. The game was a tribute to old-school side-scrolling platformers from the 1980s and 1990s. Chumlee was the main character, and his goal was to save his dog Pinky. His chat with Looper was about the project, and he talked about how much of a passion project it had been. He has always liked old Nintendo games, so this was a clever way to give his fans something new and fun. He also tried his hand at the pet business. Chumlee teamed up with Pet Shopping TV in 2023 to release a line of pet products, such as pajamas for dogs and owners that match, stylish leashes, and fun treats for pets. Some people might have thought this was an odd move, but it showed how much he loved animals and added to his growing brand. Pet food industry said that the partnership went well and showed how flexible Chumlee had become as a businessman and public person. Along with all of these projects, Chumlee also worked to improve his finances. Scaling Up Excellence and other news sources say that his net worth is around $5 million. This includes his salary on Pawn Stars, which is said to be about $25,000 per show, as well as money he makes from merchandise, business investments, and building his personal brand. Even though these numbers don't put him in the same league as the world's best business people, it's still a big deal for someone who used to be the shop's jokester. But not everything about his life is known to the public. Chumlee usually doesn't make a big deal out of his personal connections. He was engaged to Olivia Rodeman, a student and businesswoman at one point. In 2019, they got married in Hawaii in a small wedding. Since then, they haven't talked much about their romance, and fans have only seen small bits of their life together on social media. People have been wondering if they are dating since they haven't been seen as much, but Chumlee hasn't made any official comments. He has stayed a constant on Pawn Stars through all of these changes. He still works at the shop and films shows. His character may not be as silly as he used to be because he's grown up a bit, but he still brings a sense of fun and realism that has become a big part of the show's draw. The relationship between him and Rick Harrison and also with Corey stays strong, which gives fans a sense of continuity even as the show changes. The History Channel show Pawn Stars had a spin-off called Pawn Stars Do America, which Chumlee helped to start in 2022. The show tried a new format. Instead of shooting all episodes in Las Vegas's gold and silver pawn shop, the crew, including Chumlee, took the show on the road. Rick Harrison, Corey Harrison, and Chumlee went on a cross-country trip to towns like Detroit, Savannah, and Austin to meet collectors, see historical sites, and appraise rare items in different places. Longtime fans of the series quickly became interested in the spin-off. The format made it possible for more variety and in-depth stories from all over the country, giving viewers new culture and historical insights. Even though Chumlee's part didn't change much, fans liked seeing him in a different setting. His silly humor, interest, and excitement were still big parts of the show, but the new format gave him more chances to talk to fans and share what he really knew about things like sneakers, toys, old video games, and pop culture memorabilia. In 2024, when the team shot in Detroit, this happened more than once. Michigan Live says that the show had a mix of rare trading cards, old signs, and rock and roll memorabilia. Chumlee showed up in a good mood and interacted with fans, showing off his knowledge, especially when talking about collectibles like Pokemon cards, which are one of his personal interests. Chumlee kept building his brand and companies when he wasn't on TV. Chumlee's Candy on the Boulevard, the retro candy store he opened in 2017, has been one of his biggest hits. The store is right next to Las Vegas's famous gold and silver pawn shop and sells a lot of old and new candies, drinks, and gifts. The store has also become a tourist draw, in part because it is close to the pawn shop and in part because customers often get to meet Chumlee himself. Fan reviews and news stories in the area say that Chumlee often stops by the store to meet customers, take pictures, and help out behind the counter. People have said nice things about the store's fun vibe and wide range of hard-to-find sweets, and the company has kept up a strong online presence. Even though the store's official Instagram page hasn't been updated as much lately, fans of the show and candy lovers still go there often. Chumlee showed up at the candy shop in person in December 2023. The event was mentioned on the shop's Facebook page. He talked with fans, signed autographs, and promoted special items like signed bobbleheads and novelty collectibles during the stay. These kinds of events have helped him keep his fans interested, even when he's not online as much. Sometimes posts about his hobbies, travels, and personal milestones fill up his personal Instagram account. which is usually pretty quiet for long periods of time. In a picture that caught people's attention in late 2023, Chumlee was seen at San Diego Comic-Con wearing a bright bathrobe that looked like Keith Haring's work from the 1980s. His show was a hit with fans, especially those who like pop culture and collecting things. At Comic-Con, Chumlee shared pictures with artists like Stan Sakai, who made Usagi Yojimbo, and Todd McFarlane. Mitsuhiro Arita was the original artist on Pokemon cards. Meeting these famous people was clearly a dream come true for Chumlee, who said it would be something she would never forget. The post about Comic-Con also showed how much Chumlee still loves gathering. He showed off a bunch of rare Pokemon cards and Japanese collectibles, which made him look like more than just a TV celebrity. It made people see him as a real fan and collector. On screen, this hobby had always been a part of his life. Now it was part of his brand. He posts on social media with the name Chumlee Collects and shows off parts of his collection. People who are interested in the same things follow him. Chumlee's own old-school video game, Chumlee's Adventure: The Quest for Pinky, came out, which was another important event in his life. The game was made as a homebrew project and was based on old-school side-scrolling Nintendo games. Chumlee was the main character and his goal was to save his beloved dog, Pinky. Chumlee told Looper that he grew up playing Nintendo games and had always wanted to make something that showed how much he loved games as a child. People who like Pawn Stars and people who collect old video games, especially those who like limited edition physical cartridge releases, liked the idea. For hardcore players, the game had hidden material that could only be unlocked by beating the whole thing without getting hurt. This small detail showed that Chumlee had more to do with the project and showed that he knew what retro players liked. Even though the game was very specific, it helped Chumlee become better at moving into markets that fit his interests and brand. Of course, Chumlee's health is still one of the most noticeable changes about him. Having gastric sleeve surgery in 2019 helped him lose over 150 pounds, and he kept the weight off by eating better and working out regularly. Many of his fans have been through similar problems and found hope in his journey. He has been open about the ups and downs of the process. In different interviews, he has said that both the memory of his father and the support of his partner keep him dedicated to health and wellness. Chumlee still likes the simple things in life even though he is living a healthier life. Even though he's been famous for years, his candy shop, his love of souvenirs, and the way he talks to his fans all show that he's still a normal person. Chumlee has done a great job of staying active in things that are important to him and his fans, unlike many reality stars whose shows lose interest after the first few seasons. His personal Instagram account has been pretty quiet at times, but his other account, Chumlee Collects, is still active and posts about new finds, events, and shows from time to time. He still has hundreds of thousands of fans across all platforms, which shows that his popularity hasn't gone down, even though he's not as visible online all the time. It's not easy to get back on track after being in trouble, run a great business, release a video game, and stay on one of the longest-running reality shows on TV. When Pawn Stars first aired in 2009, Chumlee played a silly, underrated character. Since then, his story has changed a lot. He has grown up and is now someone who owns up to his mistakes, takes responsibility, and changes his life on his own terms. Whether he's selling nostalgic candy to tourists, posting hauls of Pokemon cards online, or searching for secret treasures across America for TV, Chumlee has shown that he can change and grow while still being himself. As his story goes on, it's clear that he still has a lot to offer, even though he's had some ups and downs. He has a lot to offer as a TV figure, as an entrepreneur, as a collector, and as a normal person going through life with honesty and humor.